Hello everyone and welcome to Lost in the Reel. Today we'll be talking about the new Netflix dramatic thriller series starring Toni Collette, Pieces of Her. Does this show do enough to keep the audience engaged, or does the mystery fall flat? Let's talk about it. Pieces of Her is directed by Minky Spiro and written by Karen Slaughter, based upon her novel of the same name. It stars Toni Collette, Bella Heathcote, Omari Hardwick, Jessica Barden, Joe Dempsey, Jacob Scipio, and David Wenham. When a Saturday afternoon trip to a restaurant with her mother suddenly explodes into violence, an adrift young woman's conception of her mother is forever changed. As figures from her mother's past start to resurface, she is forced to go on the run, and on that journey begins to piece together the truth of her mother's previous identity. When I first heard that Toni Collette was starring in a new Netflix thriller series, I couldn't have been more excited. The incredibly talented actress is one of my favorite performers working today, and this is one of my favorite genres. So, what could go wrong? Even though I think this is a serviceable enough thriller, and it kept me interested enough while watching, I couldn't help but feel horribly disappointed in this series by the end. Pieces of Her had all of the makings of a surefire hit for Netflix, and I am confident that audiences will definitely be checking it out, but if they actually stay till the end, is a whole different story. Let's start off with the positives. Toni Collette. For me, she is the main draw here, and she never ceases to provide a tour de force performance. And with Pieces of Her, she continues her streak. Her character of Laura Oliver is not the most likable, as she is constantly pushing her daughter away, and her behavior is erratic. But Collette takes the part and does everything she can with it. The series suffers whenever the veteran actress is not on screen, because she brings such dynamic energy to the forefront. I also was surprised by many of the twists and turns that this show takes. I was honestly expecting this to be more of a schlocky, binge-worthy mystery, a la 2021's Clickbait, but it does have far more up its sleeve than that series did. There's political greed, corporate corruption, and radical activism that runs through Pieces of Her's veins that makes it a far more timely and complex piece than at first glance. One of the biggest accomplishments of this show is that it kept me watching because I was curious to see how all of these puzzle pieces were going to fit together. Unfortunately, it feels as if the show thinks that it has far more to say than it actually does. And once the puzzle pieces did come together, I was left with an overwhelming sensation of, what was the actual purpose of it all? And that's where my deepest frustrations with the show lie. There are so many working parts to this mystery. Heavy exposition, detailed character backstories, and one too many double crosses than you can count, that all lead to a brick wall. Most of the plot points we hit seem to be taking place as a matter of convenience or to throw in a curveball rather than actually giving the story any weight. It all feels overly complicated than it actually needs to be because the destination that all of it leads to is pretty damn simple and straightforward. And despite her best efforts, Bella Heathcote's Andy, our lead heroine opposite Toni Collette's, is pretty insufferable. There was not a second I connected to her character or to her plight. She is constantly making idiotic decisions. You have a whole damn kitchen to pick a weapon, and you choose a paper towel holder? Really? And putting others' lives in peril because of her mistakes. She reminded me of Dave Bautista's daughter in Army of the Dead, basically causing more harm than good because of her terrible judgment. It would have been nice if just as much thought had been put into Andy's backstory as was put into her mother's character. I never felt like I knew who she was, and so in the end, I never ended up caring about her. And if you don't care about the lead character, it is impossible to fully invest yourself into the story surrounding them. It might sound like I hated this series, which I definitely did not. It really all stems from a place of disappointment. As the last episode finished, I was left with an empty sort of feeling, because what I had just spent the last 8 hours watching was neither great nor awful. It just existed in this in-between area of just being decent at best. And Pieces of Her could have been so much more than that. So I will be giving Pieces of Her 2.75 clubhouses out of 5. Despite the unparalleled talent of Toni Collette leading the way, this limited series contains a mystery that feels like it ends up going nowhere, and a cast of characters that are difficult to care for. Count this as one of the more disappointing television series in recent memory. Thank you so much for watching Lost in the Reel. What are your thoughts on Pieces of Her? Do you think the series is more intriguing than I thought? How did the ending work for you? And what is your favorite Toni Collette performance? Sound off in the comments section down below. And until next time, my friends, take care.